Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm Fabian for Liberty. FabianForLiberty.com is my website, or FabianCalvo.me. Want to just invite everyone to a webinar that I'm going to be doing end of next week on the global economic reset. The registration link is down below, and it's going to be about 2 hours, maybe a little bit more, and it's going to be an extended Q&A as well. And I'm going to break down asset protection, some recent events, a few of which I'm going to discuss here now, that I think really show that the 7 points that I laid out over a year ago now, which is in my playlist, the playlist, 7 Steps to the Global Economic Reset, are really picking up momentum and really happening as we speak. So I'm going to cover all that. I'm going to cover what I'm doing to protect myself and my family. A lot of other things that I probably easily get 50 to 100 emails a week, specifically dealing with what do I do. And I mostly talk about that in the videos that I do, what you should do. Unfortunately, not enough as I probably should or as I would want to, because there's a lot of other things going on. There's a lot of other geopolitical stuff going on. I could do a whole entire video about all the insane war propaganda now taking place with ISIS, which now Italy's saying ISIS may bomb Italy or may use may do an airstrike against Italy. And if you recall, back last year in October, September, I believe, there was 11 Libyan airliners that went missing. I believe a few were recovered or found, but those potentially could be used as missiles. Who knows? And the thing is that, and again, I could do a whole video about this, but I'll tell you what, it seems to me like there is some significant propaganda that is coming from the likelihood of MI5, MI6, the CIA, which are masters at this, Operation Mockingbird. If you haven't heard of it, I'd look it up. And we know that the West and the East as well, all these countries have engaged in hardcore war propaganda to continue to feed that animal, the military-industrial complex, particularly the West. So I'll talk about that in another video, but let's talk about a few signs of the global economic reset. I'm going to go over one that I've talked about before, but I think is a real critical factor, especially to the Wall Street bankers. And that's what's happening with Greece, the alliance now with Greece and Russia and in China as well. Again, this Eastern superbloc that I was talking about, that really has the potential, I believe, and I'll break all this down on the Global Economic Reset webinar, has the potential to in a very short period of time, change the current world reserve currency system, the dollar payment system, and send absolute financial shockwaves around the world. Now, I used to say, look, I don't think this is going to happen next week or tomorrow or next month. I still don't. But I'll tell you what, I think I don't see how this could go on a couple more years. Now, we know that Greece has a ton of debt, okay? Partially because it's pretty much a socialist country, and you work till you're like 40, and then you're supposed to get a pension system for the rest of your life. Nobody pays property taxes, or very few people pay property taxes. I'm against property taxes in general, but I'm just saying that it is an insane way to run a country. Clearly it doesn't work, because you can say, well, Greece is bankrupt, but so is most of Europe. So is technically the United States, because that type of model does not work. You can't just continue to give away free stuff to get votes and get power. It's a Ponzi scheme, and eventually it collapses. Now, the crux of the matter, though, with Greek debt is that I would say a significant portion of, remember, to take on debt, countries need to show somewhat of a healthy balance sheet, assets, what have you. Now, we know that on record, and you could do your own research, Google this, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, specifically Goldman Sachs, though, purposely went into Greece, cooked their financial books in order to make them more of a worthy borrower so they could take on all the loans that they took. So you could really make a successful argument that the Greek debt, most of it is fraud. And most of it's fraud, and I think if the Greeks, which I cannot believe that, and I have a friend who's a complete socialist, and we were talking about how libertarianism and socialism actually has a lot of things that we could come together on to defeat the neocons, the neoconservatives, which are absolutely wrecking the economy, are in the, are doing the bidding of the military-industrial complex, and I think are the biggest threat to the United States and to the West, quite frankly. I was thinking the other day as well that after watching that American Sniper movie and the notion of we got to send these Navy SEALs over to Iraq and Afghanistan to make us safer, we actually need to deploy those people on Wall Street to protect the middle class in America from the criminal banking cartel. But that's a whole other video. So the point is that I could make the argument, and I will be breaking down specifically why I think this on the Global Economic Reset webinar, that most of the debt we see now is fraudulent debt. Because it's been, it's like if I go and get a mortgage, right? And I totally lie on my mortgage application. I say I make, $50 million a year and I'm going to go out and get a $25 million loan. And I come up with like fake bank statements and I come up with fake W-9s, all that stuff. It's all bogus and fake. That's mortgage fraud. And that's pretty much what Goldman Sachs and the big mega banks on Wall Street did to rack up all this debt, billions upon billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in debt in places like Ireland, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Greece particularly. Now the proverbial SHIT is hitting the fan in Greece. And the Greeks, this new government, which was in Brussels a few days ago, Brussels said, look, you either pay or, we're going to stop giving you money. The Greeks now could expose the fraud of this mortgage debt, of this banker mortgage debt, and I believe potentially collapse the U.S. dollar overnight. Because I've always said trust is the biggest factor in an economy, and a lot of people are wary now, especially sovereign countries are wary of the dollar, of Wall Street banks, because they imploded the economy just 7 years ago. But now if it's exposed, here again, why do you think now over 50 plus, if not close to 75 plus, bankers have mysteriously been committing suicide and dying? Could it be that they have the missing link, or they have the fulcrum of exposing the banker cartels and their fraud? Because it just takes one. Remember, it just took one Edward Snowden to expose the NSA, an agency that just 15 years ago the federal government claimed didn't even exist. It didn't even exist. So, I'm someone who actually is an optimist. I know I get a lot of comments on my videos that this is fear porn and all kinds of other stuff, and so be it. I have no control over what people comment. I very, very rarely censor any comments. If there's the occasional idiot out there that's just attacking other people, I may someone who reviews my comments may censor him, but very rarely. I'm willing to take that. I'm willing to take that type of commentary and be called names and everything else, because I'll tell you what, there's not enough people that are talking about what's going on in Russia, how Russia is building this coalition to take out the dollar. And again, I'm not saying I'm against that or for that. I'm just thinking that the American people, the people in the West, need some real hard-hitting economic truth so that they can begin to prepare. But see, even though the Western governments in Washington, D.C. specifically know this is coming, they know. They don't want people to prepare. Because when it happens, that's where they get even more power. Because people are panicking and they look for government to do something. Unfortunately, that's a Pavlovian response that's been triggered and programmed into most of the American population. So, anyways, I'd love to hear your feedback on this, but the registration link is down below. Like I said, it's going to be 2 hours. There's a bunch of free bonuses as well that you get by signing up and registering. 2-hour webinar. I'm going to break a lot of recent developments down that have taken place like in the last 3 months. My forecast into the next year, specifically with the Global Economic Reset, and an extended Q&A, also dealing with things like asset protection, planning international flags, a bunch of other cool stuff. So hope you could join us. It's going to be next week, end of next week, so there's plenty of time. I'm Fabian Calvo, Fabian for Liberty. Thanks for watching. I'm out.